Welcome back to the Derek Smith Spiel. This is another weekly sports update with all your frontline news brought to you in a quick summary. Usually, I'm pretty good at keeping it around 20 minutes. This is July 29th through August 4th. Starting off in the NFL, there's a lot of man drama. This is going to be a full page that I am reading to you of man drama. And it starts in Washington. Commanders' star wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, has requested a trade. McLaurin is unhappy with the negotiations in Washington. He obviously expects to get paid a large amount, and he doesn't think that Washington is willing to pay or is showing the urgency to keep him. While negotiations were happening, to show his frustration, McLaurin did not practice the first 4 days of training camp and said it was because of his ankle injury last year, despite participating in spring workouts. He really just used that as an excuse to avoid getting fined. It was a pretty hefty fine per day, and he ended up missing 4 days. McLaurin made it 4 days on the physically unable to perform list before announcing that he wanted to be traded. The Commanders made it clear that they do not want to trade McLaurin. They are very vocal about wanting to keep him, but McLaurin wants out. Terry still has a year on his contract extension, but he said in July that he would not step on the field unless there was progress towards a new contract. And that's a trend that's coming up with a whole bunch of players where they just blatantly refuse to play. They refuse to play until they work out a new contract or are getting paid what they think. You saw it with Chris Jones on the Chiefs really for the first half of the year last year. He was just sitting out until they got the contract negotiations worked out, and it's just so immature. You're on a team, you are getting paid to play a game. You're getting paid to play a game. You're living the dream. You're getting paid millions to play a game. Not only that, but that's your only responsibility. Play football, train for football, and stay out of jail. That's their job in the NFL. That's your only job. And these guys, they aren't getting paid what they think they should be, or a negotiation isn't working out as quickly as they think it should happen for them, because apparently they're the only ones in the world, Terry McLaurin, Chris Jones, whoever's sitting out. They think they're so important that the team should drop every responsibility they have, every other player, just to pay them, to sit down and have a conversation with them. Oh, how many years do you want on your new contract? Oh, we can't pay you that much. There's a salary cap. We're paying everyone else, but we can do this for you. It's just stupid. You're getting paid to play a game. Go out there and play the game. If you're sitting out, that's so childish. That's like a 5-year-old pouting in the corner because, I don't know, he's not getting the type of lunch he wants. He asked for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with no crust, and he got it with crust, so he's sitting in the corner. To me, that's the equivalent of what these guys sitting out are doing. It's so beyond stupid. But back to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is 31 years old, and that could be why he hasn't been offered a large contract. But Tyreek Hill, age 30, Mike Evans, 31, and Cortland Sutton, also at age 30, all got extensions this year despite their age. One interesting stat about Terry McLaurin is when you look at his numbers right next to DK Metcalf's numbers. Both Terry and DK were in the 2019 draft class. So if you look at their numbers in their career, the same amount of years in the NFL, DK Metcalf has 438 receptions, 6,324 receiving yards, and 48 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin has 460 receptions, 6,378 yards, and 38 touchdowns. It's interesting because anyone you talk to, any fan, really would say that Terry McLaurin is on a different level than DK Metcalf is. DK Metcalf is kind of... Terry McLaurin's seen as a wide receiver 1. DK Metcalf is seen as a very respectable wide receiver 2. But when you look at the numbers, you might want to take DK over Terry McLaurin. He has slightly less yards, but he has that on, quick math here, 22 less receptions. He has more yards per catch. He averages more yards per catch. Not only that, he also has 10 more touchdowns. A season, 2 seasons worth more of touchdowns. I just think that's really interesting to see, because DK Metcalf really does get disrespected. Everyone's picking on the Steelers fans because Steelers fans are going on about how good DK is, but no one else is. But when you look at his numbers next to Terry McLaurin, maybe he should be regarded a little higher than he is. That's an interesting side-by-side stat. But the second person with man drama is none other than Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons announced on social media that he is requesting a trade. Micah tweeted, quote, "Yes, I wanted to be here. I did everything I could to show that I wanted to be a Cowboy and wear the star on my helmet. I wanted to play in front of the best fans in sports and make this America's team once again. The team my pops and I grew up cheering for way up in Harrisburg, PA. Unfortunately, I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be held to closed-door negotiations without my agent present. I no longer want shots taken at me for getting injured while laying it on the line for the organization, our fans, and my teammates. I no longer want narratives created and spread to the media about me. I had purposely stayed quiet in hopes of getting something done." End quote. Parsons, like McLaurin, sat out of practices hoping that a deal would be made before the season started, but it obviously did not pan out. Parsons could be tagged and held onto by the Cowboys through 2028, but that means the team would lose their quarterback tag. Parsons said that he wanted to stay a Cowboy, but Jerry Jones and the association showed no urgency, no care, and no sign of making any progress to sign him. He also said that he was getting a lot of crap, not only from fans, but from the negotiation. That one's hard to... That's kind of his word against another man's word on that one. It's hard to say if that is true, but no matter where he goes, he's gonna get crap if he gets injured. If you have a tendency of getting injured, it's unfortunate because it's out of your control and a lot of times freak accidents, but if you spend more time injured than playing for the team when you're getting paid millions of dollars and expected to consistently sack the quarterback, you're going to get crap from fans, people with fantasy teams, coaches, the people who paid you millions of dollars. That's just part of the game. That doesn't matter if you're in Dallas or in Detroit, which appears that's where Michael wants to go next. As a Lions fan, I hope the Lions do not sign Micah Parsons. He seems like a prima donna, and that's not something Dan Campbell promotes on his team, or it doesn't seem to be. What it boils down to is Micah Parsons wants to get paid like Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and TJ Watt just did. Now that we're done with the drama, let's go on to the MLB. Well, the drama doesn't really end because Bryce Harper is against the salary cap. Rob Manfred came to the Phillies clubhouse to talk about the possibility of a salary cap in the next year. As a response, Bryce Harper walked up to him, reportedly nose to nose, and said, "Get the fuck out of our clubhouse." Manfred holds a meeting with every MLB team, and I hope this is the worst encounter he had. Many teams and managers are all for a salary cap because they wanted a more competitive league and a fair chance to win and compete against every team, no matter how popular or how much money a team makes. Major League Baseball is the only American sport league without a salary cap, but the two-time National League MVP, Bryce Harper, does not want any limit on what he can make, and he made that very clear with the attitude he gave Rob Manfred. That guy was just doing his job. He was just relaying what could possibly happen to each team. But Bryce Harper has always been a bit of a firecracker. The Tigers had a series against the Phillies. They ended up losing the first game, but it didn't seem like a loss to me because they got Bryce Harper ejected, and it's always fun to see that guy crash out. In Cleveland, another pitcher is suspended for suspicious sports bets and pitches. Emmanuel Clase is on non-disciplinary paid leave through August 31st due to possible illegal sports bets, very similar to his teammate Luis Ortiz, who is also still suspended. There is now an investigation on the Cleveland Guardians team for any other players who may be betting illegally on games, but so far nothing has come out of it. The Guardians do not expect anything to come out of it either. Emmanuel Clase is a huge loss to the Guardians bullpen. He is one of the best closers in baseball, a 3-time All-Star and 2-time winner of the Mariano Rivera Award. Clase had a rough start at the beginning of the year and has already given up more hits than last year, but he has managed a respectable 3.23 ERA with 47 strikeouts and 12 walks. This week was also the trade deadline for the MLB, so I'm going to go over some of the high-profile trades that went down. And not all the trades, because that would probably take me 2 hours to explain, but just some of the high-profile ones that I saw and picked. The Detroit Tigers acquired starting pitcher Chris Paddack and right-hand pitcher Randy Dobnak from the Twins for first base prospect Enrique Jimenez. Dobnak will be put into AAA bullpen, but Chris Paddack made his first start for the Tigers against the Diamondbacks. Despite Paddack's ERA of 4.95 through 21 starts this year, he held the Diamondbacks to 1 run and earned a win in his first start as a Tiger. He will be a free agent at the end of this year. The Tigers needed a 5th starting pitcher since Jackson Jobe tore his ulnar collateral ligament. To make things worse for the Tigers' terrible July, Reese Olson is also out for the rest of the season because of a shoulder strain. But the Tigers appear to be catching their stride again after going 5-1 in their last 6 games, and I hope they have. It has been so hard to follow the Tigers through July. The loss streak has been brutal, and every team goes through it. It's just part of baseball. It's such a hot and cold sport, and it a lot of times comes down to who's hot in the playoffs. The Blue Jays trade for Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber won the Cy Young Award in 2020, and since then has a strikeout to walk ratio of 20-1. That sounds amazing, but the ratio is over 2 starts. Those were 2 starts in the 2024 season before he needed Tommy John surgery. Since then, he has been on recovery. In the minors, he also has a 20-1 strikeout ratio in 4 starts. This is a gamble with huge upside for the Blue Jays, but it could be a slow process that never materializes. This is all based on Shane Bieber's recovery. It's all based on if he can stay healthy and work his way back up to the majors and to look the same after Tommy John surgery. It's a big gamble. I like to see it, though. I like to see it, and it's got to give Shane Bieber confidence, knowing that the Blue Jays believe in him to make this trade. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The Mariners, they might have won they probably won the trade deadline battle. If any team got high-end players and really turned their odds around, their winning odds around, it's the Mariners. Just after getting Josh Naylor from the Diamondbacks, they also got Eugenio Suarez. The Mariners gave up Tyler Lockyer and two right-handed pitchers to get one of the top power hitters in the game, Eugenio. He is batting .248, but with a lot of power. He has 36 home runs this year and is slugging .576. One important note is that the Mariners have acquired Suarez and Naylor without giving up any of their top 10 prospects, which is just insane. So they got an immediate fix with Naylor and Suarez, who are going to come to the team and make a difference. Those are two very good and respected players in the MLB. And they still have their future coming up through the minors because they didn't even have to trade away to get those two players. That is phenomenal. The Seattle Mariners they pulled off quite the maneuvers before the trade deadline this year. The Red Sox got left-handed pitcher Steven Matz from the Cardinals for the prospect first base and third baseman Blaze Jordan. The veteran pitcher Matz has been tossing a 3.44 ERA out of the bullpen, and it is always good to have a reliable reliever. The Mets boost their bullpen by getting a reliever, Tyler Rogers, from the Giants by trading away three prospects. Tyler Rogers has a 1.8 ERA this year, and over his career has a 2.79 ERA. The Mets also got closer Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals for three prospects. Ryan Helsley will boost the Mets bullpen with his even 3 ERA, and he has closed 21 games this year. So if anyone comes close to what the Mariners did this trade deadline, it is probably the Mets and the way they improved their bullpen. They gave up 6 prospects in total for two very reliable pitchers. Carlos Correa is back in Houston. Correa is back to his home team in Houston after being traded from Minnesota for a prospect pitcher and a lot of money that should clear the team's debt. Correa will play third base instead of his normal spot on shortstop for the Astros due to Isaac Paredes' injury. Houston is happy to see their all-star back, and it is safe to say that Correa is happy to be back. And finally, the Yankees acquired shortstop Jose Caballero from the Rays. It was announced mid-game when the Rays were playing in New York, and Jose was able to share a moment and hug his teammates before walking across the field to his new team. Again, that is not all the moves that were made at the deadline. There were plenty more, but those are the big ones. Those are the big ones. It's kind of crazy thinking about Jose Caballero's situation to walk across the field that you've just been notified you've been traded. You might be thinking about having to move, maybe getting a new house where you're going to live, if your new teammates are going to like you. In that moment, he had to hug all of his teammates, give a quick goodbye to everyone he could, and then walk over and join the Yankees. That's crazy. That's crazy. A lot of credit to him. That is not easy. Finally, in the UFC, the dilemma at UFC Fight Night at the Apex was resolved. The main event was going to be Tatsuro Taira against Amir Albazi, but Albazi had to back out for undisclosed reason. Instead, Tatsuro Taira faced Hyun Sung Park. Going in, Taira was 16-1 with 12 finishes. He was coming off his first loss in the UFC by the hands of Brandon Royval, and that was split decision. His opponent, Park, was 10-0 with 3 fights in the UFC. All of them were finishes. Tatsuro Taira ended up winning the fight by submission in the second round, but you've got to give Park credit for coming in on short notice with no complaints and competing. That's never easy to do. I'm sure he had an idea that he could step in, but as a fighter, you hope you get the chance to fight, but you can't ever really expect that someone's going to drop out, especially in a main event. At the main event, that was the main event for UFC Fight Night. You don't expect someone in the main event to drop out. A lot of credit to Park for stepping in on that one. Carlos Ulberg is set to fight Dominic Reyes. At UFC Fight Night Perth, Carlos Ulberg, 13-1 and on an 8-fight win streak with 5 finishes, will take on Dominic Reyes, who is 15-4 and on a 3-fight win streak, all by TKO. Both of these fighters are looking to be top contenders for a title, and a win would be a huge step for each of them. They're probably 2 wins away from a title shot. The top of the light heavyweight division needs a new guy in the mix, and both of these fighters want it. Reyes went on a 3-fight loss streak after his first chance at gold against John Jones, but since then he has revived himself and is looking to not only get a second chance, but to win and become champ. UFC Fight Night Perth, the main event, holds the future of the UFC light heavyweight division. Who is the new guy? That will be a very interesting fight to watch. And finally, going to end it on a fun fact. Max Holloway has 16 straight fights where he landed at least 75 significant strikes. The next closest is Sean Strickland and Kobe Covington with 7 fights with 75 significant strikes. Max Holloway, his striking is elite. He really seems to be just on a different level in his striking. But with that is the weekly sports update for July 29th through August 4th. I hope you enjoyed. This episode was brought to you by yours truly, Derek Smith, with help from the voice memos and Spotify Podcasters app. For more content like this, you can continue listening to the Derek Smith Spiel on Spotify, or you can listen on my YouTube channel at Derek Smith Stock 13. There you'll find my podcast and sports betting videos on top of that. If you're a fan of my sports betting videos, you can also see highlights of those on my TikTok account. You can find that by searching at SmithStock5 again on TikTok. Enjoy collecting cards? If so, check out my Collects account at Derek Smith Stock to get deals on quality cards. For updates on everything I mentioned, follow my Instagram account. You can find that by searching Derek Smith Stock 13 on Instagram. Not interested in sports? Then go to YouTube and watch Dylan Smith Outdoors YouTube channel. Search Dylan Smith Outdoors, where there are plenty of outdoor content videos, including hunting, catching, trail cam and tree stand setup, cooking, and plenty of laughs in between. Need your lawn sprayed? Whether it's weeds or insects, Greenwood Ecologics has you covered. If you need help making your lawn greener than your neighbors, call Greenwood Ecologics at 585-739-1610. I repeat, 585-739-1610. Finally, thank you for listening to this production of the Derek Smith Spiel. Every view or listener is appreciated. I'll catch you later.